Drew Scheinman is our guest today. He and I go back a few years, not going to tell you how many, but we have always not necessarily worked together, but we've worked in the same industry all these years, and we've run into each other off and on throughout the entirety. Great respect and admiration for Drew. He's got a lot of stops in his career. 3 in Major League Baseball, actually. 1 with the Baltimore Orioles, 1 with the New York Mets, and then he went to work for MLB, Major League Baseball, corporately, if you will. Also spent some time on the IP side as a lead at the Breeders' Cup, which is thoroughbred horse racing, for those of you that don't know that. Madison Square Garden, home of the Knicks, the recently crowned NBA champion Knicks. And then Endeavor WME IMG. I mean, back in the day, IMG, and still is, the bellwether in the sport talent event sponsorship agency space. It left IMG and was the co-founder and formed Brand Velocity Group, which is a hybrid investment house, and we're going to learn a lot about that in the ensuing few minutes. So, Drew, I can't thank you enough for willing to be a guest on the Best Boss Ever podcast.
Great to be here, Carl. It's taken a few years for us to get to this place, but thrilled to be here with you. Thank you.
Well, we won't tell everybody how many years I chased you to be on the pod, but here we are. All right. Listen, always start the same way. You've had a storied and very diverse career. None of us gets to where we are by ourselves. We have help along the way. So the question for you, who, or maybe more than one who, was the best boss, leader, mentor that you've ever had, who it was and why?
Yeah, I guess it's a great question. I guess there's a few of them, some that I worked in association with, but not necessarily directly with. And I think one of the things I've always enjoyed is meeting people outside of my particular area of focus. So I'll give you 3 quick examples. One is Bob Tisch, who used to be the owner of the New York Giants football team. He was also anointed as kind of the quintessential power broker in New York City. He had created the very famous Power Breakfast at the Regency Hotel in Manhattan. And that was a large place where people had the most expensive breakfast, but the most valuable breakfast because the connectivity, the people in the room was extraordinary. And Bob was just a good mentor, a good friend, and a great supporter, but just a prolific human being in business and in philanthropy and in society, and also the owner of my favorite sports team, the New York Giants. So he's one. Another one very quickly is Walter Dunn, who you remember. Walter was the father of ubiquity at Coca-Cola when I was the head of sports marketing at Coke. And Walter had been in that position for many years and just an extraordinary guy, very successful, created really the whole sponsorship category in sports. And the third one was Melvin Simon from the Simon Property Group. And Melvin was the creator of the mall in his world. And all very prolific people. Did I work with them every day? No. But did I pay attention to them? Yes. Particularly Melvin and Walter would comment. I know that a lot of other younger people had no interest in spending time with them because they were old, they're on their way out. Like I would find whatever opportunities I had to spend, whether it be 5 minutes or an hour, whatever it was, to just listen and learn. Because guys like that, they built industries. They didn't build businesses, they built industries. And to me, that always stuck with me, and whatever value I could get from that really had quite an impact.
So smart, because the wisdom that, if you will, the old dogs have when they're still in the game is extraordinary. And if you're willing to spend the time in conversation, asking questions, taking a challenge or a problem to them, way more often than not, their experience will come to light and help guide you in what otherwise would have been a much longer process to get where you wanted to go, right?
100%. And now getting to do that on the other side of that to some extent, it also taught me how to treat people regardless of your position, regardless of your money, just really in general, like how do you treat people the same way? And that is a life lesson that I live and my kids live and other people around me do the same. It's important.
Well, listen, I'm a personal beneficiary of that approach. We were at the same conference together a couple of months back, and you saw me from across the room, walked up, and of course it was like we'd never left. It's right, friends for a really long time. But you made a point of saying, "Hey, listen, I saw you yesterday. I assumed you were going to be at this conference, so it's great." And we had I don't know, 20-minute chat, reconnect. And that's where I wouldn't let you walk away from me without saying yes to being on the
That's
podcast,
good.
right?
There you go. You're a closer. Carl, you've always been a closer. There you go. You closed again. Yeah.
Well, listen, we know what, Coca-Cola, what Major League Baseball, what the Orioles, what the New York Mets, the Breeders' Cup, and IMG are all about. But I'm really keen to spend time on your latest venture. I want to say it's 5, 6, 7 years old, maybe right before the pandemic. You're going to correct me on the timing.
Well, that's okay.
But
Yep.
Brand
Eight
Velocity
years.
Group
8 years.
is a super interesting and occupies a unique niche in our world because it's investor, it's connecting the dots, it's finding opportunities where others might not. So over to you, man. Let's hear about BVG.
Yeah, I feel like I say sometimes I feel like I've worked my whole career to get to be doing what I'm doing today. And a lot of people, very successful people that you and I both know, they say they've had great success. They say, "Oh, I'm going to go out and raise a fund. I'm going to go," like, no, it's not that easy. Trust me, it's not that easy. So I always thought I was a pretty clever guy and sometimes have been accused of being 10 years ahead of my time. I decided to compress it to like 2 years. And I always wanted to be on the side of capital, but frankly, I could never find the right investment professional and professionals that I liked and trusted and accepted that me as much as I wanted to be with them to be in business with. And so while at Endeavor, I started the Talent Brand Ventures Group. Kobe Bryant was a client. On behalf of Kobe, I read about this technology educational toy company, which sadly the world now knows how passionate he was about that with his daughters. So I figured it's Kobe Bryant. Reaching out to the CEO wasn't good enough. So I had to find the owner. I did my homework, found the owner of the company. It was a private equity firm and fund. And I reached out to that person cold. And that person, Steve Leibowitz, and I hit it off. We became fast friends. And then we had a shared vision, taking his 20 years great private equity experience. My background, my experience, kind of the special sauce guy. Bring it together. We could do something very different in private equity, and that's how we started Brand Velocity Group now about 8 years ago. So it's just really it's a blast for me, at this stage in life to be doing what I'm doing, working probably harder than I've ever worked, but loving it and just connecting the dots from all the things I've done in my career and having great partners and Steve and Austin Ramos and Eli Manning's a partner. I could come back to that and talk about that as well. So it's been a great fun journey.
Well, it's it's going to be more fun, obviously. Listen, I'm going to say the collective we are at least aware of. I did spend 3 years in my career deal hunting in the private equity world with a pretty significant private equity firm based up in Connecticut. That said, in the world of sport that you and I live in now, Drew, private equity has and will continue to make big splashes in the world of team ownership, in the world of media sponsorship and rights ownership. That's probably the door through which private equity will enter collegiate sports. You can opine on that. Would love to hear your thoughts there. But the world of sport and entertainment are no strangers to private equity and venture capital, but you've got a little different approach. So share with us you know, if you will, your secret sauce at BVG and how Brand Velocity Group is different from, and maybe, a more compelling play in the space.
Yeah, no, it's competitive for sure. Even in the last year or two, it's gotten that much more competitive, and there's so much capital out there. I'd say what makes us distinctly different, a few things. One is we care about people, we care about corporate culture. We have a program, first ever program called Share the Gains. We take 10% of our GP carried interest, we give it back to the employees of the companies we own. So never been done before, very much aligns us with those employees and shows that we really do care about them and we care about the shared success going forward. So that's one important differentiation. The other one is from your background, my background, some of the other people we have around the table with BVG and BVG Sports, the operational expertise. Besides the capital, I like to say capital is a commodity. Bringing the operational expertise to the table is really the difference maker. And there's plenty of people who can write checks and provide all that resources from a capital standpoint, but don't have the years of experience that you have and that I have. And again, we put together a stellar advisory team of operating executives who bring that to the table as well. So that's really critical. The other part is From an investment standpoint, on the capital side, beyond the typical investors in the space, we have a number of athletes who are limited partners in the deals that we do. So I mentioned Eli Manning's a legit business partner in our business on a day-to-day basis, but we also have as investors Peyton Manning. We just did a deal. Larry Fitzgerald invested. Emmett Smith invested. A number of other very high-profile of athletes invested with us. Carmelo Anthony did his first private equity deal with us. So that is part of what makes this so much fun for me, connecting the dots from things that I've done, bringing all that together in a very unique way in private equity and investing. And really the value add we can bring to table is what's most critical. Is it competitive? Yes, it is. 100%. It is competitive, but we're competitors. We want to get in the game and we want to win more often than losing.
Right. Well, and that's also the athlete DNA. I want to sort of underscore the point you made about the operational expertise. I mean, for far too long, whether it was venture capital or private equity, that they, to your point, the capital was the commodity. What most private equity shops back in the day, that's changing now, to your point, it's highly and much more competitive, is they were financial engineers or re-engineers. They
Right.
weren't
Right.
necessarily skilled at operating companies, understanding P&L, understanding how to build a talent team, understanding how to recruit, understanding how to align divisions, functions, and personnel in the, optimized, efficient way. They come out of, whether it's Duke or Wharton or Harvard with MBAs, they go straight into private equity, they go straight to Wall Street. They spend their whole lives in finance, but they really never ran a company, right? They invest in companies and they
Right.
hope that management is skilled enough to deliver on the vision. So I love that operational bit that you just identified. Give us a little sense of how you BVG and BVG Sports bring that to life in deals you do and companies you identify and that sort of thing.
Well, I'll talk about a company we just acquired less than a month ago. We announced it a few weeks ago called RCX. So we won the company in an auction. The company is a youth sports registration company and has, to credit to the CEO, founder CEO, they have relationships with NFL for flag football, Major League Soccer for their soccer, youth soccer program, Major League Baseball, NHL, and every other sport, US Open, et cetera. So they put together all these great licensed relationships, and we bought the company with a great interest and commitment to say we can grow the company with the existing relationships. We know the team owners, we know all the league commissioners, et cetera. We have those relationships to take them further and be more successful. We could also bring expertise to grow your platform, continue to enhance registration, have more kids playing sports, which is a critical part of why we're so excited about it. And one example is flag football with the NFL. Well, Eli was the anointed flag ambassador by the unofficially anointed, I should say, flag ambassador by the NFL. He beat his brother Peyton 3 times in a row in the NFL Flag Pro Championship, as you may recall. He definitely recalls. So that, by one example, he's very passionate about it, very authentic to him, very passionate about it. He's got 4 kids, they all play flag. So that's a good example where we can connect that and bring other athletes, other NFL players into the flag ecosystem and help grow the sport. So that's one example. And then also on the other side of that is just helping on the M&A side. We think it's a great platform. We can go grow through acquisitions that really plug into the platform. So we bring the kind of core expertise on a foundational level to grow the business, enhance, make sure that everything they're doing is secure with the league relationships, take them further, find new opportunities for growth, both organically and also through M&A going forward. But it's a category, youth sports is a very hot category from the private equity standpoint. It's interesting when we announced the deal, there's been a lot of noise from the political side of the world of people saying private equity is going to destroy youth sports and they're going to be vultures and my kids' product's going to cost more, registration's going to be out of hand. Like we get all that, and we are actually, in this deal brings us to the other side of that. We actually want to have a mission-driven company, which RCX is, and we want to help kids be able to play sports in a more affordable way and to grow their registration and grow their participation. So it's very exciting for us on so many levels. Again, back to community side and sharing the gain side, it just checks a lot of boxes for us.
Well, I love to hear that. I want to do a little bit of a dive into youth sports. I'm, sitting here in North County, San Diego, a drive and a 5 iron from the Surf Sports Park. The Surf Nation in soccer has been an institution here in North County, San Diego for nearly 40 years. Surf soccer is well known. What they embarked on pre COVID was, for lack of a better term, a hybrid franchise model where they licensed the name Surf Sports or Surf Soccer. They built a playbook on how to not only run a similar type organization in whatever locale you are in, but also how to bring to life the tournament side, the pathway and roadmap to collegiate to playing collegiate soccer, both boys and girls. And they've got now, Drew, 50,000 youth athletes wearing the
Yep.
surf jersey across the country. Then you look at what Unrivaled is doing, right? Unrivaled Sports, backed by it's Harris or Blitzer, one or the other.
But yeah, both, both.
Both, Andy Campion and Wade Martin, those guys are going hard and fast. And then I think Drew Brees in his flag football initiative is affiliated with the Surf Sports Group. I could be wrong in that regard, but with flag football coming on the Olympic program in 2 years' time here in LA, that's got to be an absolute windfall looking forward.
Yeah, no, it is. It's got massive, the classic sense TAM growth potential. So we're really excited about that. I've spent some time with Drew around the space. So yeah, there's a lot to be developed and advanced there. The other thing which may be relevant, I think you and I talked about this when we were together in LA, is the whole real estate side of sports and mixed use development. So we are involved in a couple of projects there. Again, bringing it back to youth connectivity, given our expertise, it's really exciting to see that. And again, similarly, there are a lot of real estate developers there that have a lot of money. We have the source of capital, the expertise from the real estate side, not us, but a partner. And we also have the youth sports experience. So connecting all those dots is really exciting to us, and always looking for some great new projects where we can lean in on that.
Right. Well, okay. So I'm sitting here in North County, San Diego. 20 minutes up the road is an 18-month-old arena called Front Wave Arena. 7,000 cap. So it's half again the size of Pachanga down the road, where the Sockers used to play, where the Clippers actually started back in the day. And an hour north is the Honda Center in Anaheim. Again, that's a 15, 16,000 seat arena. So this 7,000 cap arena is a sweet spot. Home to the San Diego Clippers, G League team, home to the San Diego Sockers, indoor soccer team, and just announced a Division II hockey franchise, puck drop in October. They're 18 months old, brand new, great lines of sight, great audio, everything you would want in an arena. Plus, they're in a sweet spot from an entertainment perspective. So when, your favorite band sells out the 2,500 seat club and you can't get in anymore, but they're not good enough to sell out a 15,000 seat arena, where do they go? They go to a 6,000 to 7,000 cap building. They crush it. The energy is off the chart. This arena is part of a 450 acre real estate development, and right next to it are the Southern California Youth Sports Field, and they're
I love it.
more real estate than the Surf Sports Park right here next door. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have this kind of opportunity, I think, growing in what I will call B plus, B minus markets. Not going to be necessarily NBA or NHL or NFL
Right,
towns, but they're
right.
going to be growing communities where this kind of a mixed use real estate development makes so much sense. So share with me, my particular interest is what you guys are doing in this space.
Well, we're looking at a couple of opportunities right now, and the opportunity has to fit in terms of market size, obviously demographics, the profile, and also supporting a lot of things which you just talked about, which definitely resonates with us. Look, the reality in the world we live in today with AI, we're all looking for live experiences, live opportunities, and more parents care more than ever. Between it used to be getting their kids off their devices, now it's getting their kids away from AI. We're connected to AI. So all these kind of movements. give me that much more compelling. So if that's an opportunity we should look at, Carl, let's please bring it on. And we're interested in many more. The developer we have is very, very well capitalized, has great experience in hotels, restaurants, retail, et cetera, affordable housing, especially like in the OZ opportunity zone world. So those are opportunities that kind of check the boxes, and we're very excited about bringing that. But also, as I said, not just kind of the traditional real estate lens, we're bringing the youth sports overlay to that,
Love
and
that.
that's very, very powerful and very scalable and very sustainable, which is really important thing in real estate, as I'm sure you know.
It totally is. And when you can overlay a youth sports layer, and whether it's physical real estate and green fields, which is soccer, lacrosse, flag football, it also lends itself to festival type events, whether it's a food and wine festival or whether it's a, there's no such thing as a mini Coachella, but you get what I mean.
Yeah,
A scaled down
100%.
version of
Yeah,
it that doesn't necessarily need an amphitheater, but you can bring in a portable stage. And in the case of Front Wave Arena, you've got the 6,000 seat arena right across the way. So, you've got a very cool combination of mix match, and play in the mosaic of these larger footprints, in this case 450 acres, is magic if you
yeah.
program it the right way. And
If you program, I was just
that's
going to say,
so
if
key.
you program it the right way, which a lot of developers don't get
They
that.
don't
You and
get
I
it.
get that from our experience. But yes, you got to program it the right way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So listen, back to sort of the high level. How many companies I'm going to call it the portfolio, but that might not be the
No,
right
it's a
designation.
portfolio.
Yep.
Yes, it's a yeah.
How many companies to date are there exit strategies as you acquire these companies? And then look out 5 years for us and tell us, in addition to youth sports and this mixed use real estate development, where your sort of investment thesis platform is focused.
Great question. So we have 7 companies in the portfolio, five buyouts where we have 100% control, 2 co-invests. And the kind of foundation is consumer. That's my partner's background in private equity. Their backgrounds are very successfully in consumer. I'm leading the sports effort with Eli, and the two come together because obviously you can't talk about sports without consumer. So that's kind of the beautiful connectivity across there. So on the exit side, I think we're probably a year and a half or 2 years away from an exit. And then I'll actually know that I'm in private equity when we have an exit.
Right.
It's excited too. Uh, but the beautiful part, we're not a fund, we're an independent sponsor. It's a very important distinction. So most people in the investment world have raised funds, significant funds. We've effectively raised a fund by the nature and number of the deals that we've done and the aggregate capital that we put to work. But we like the opportunity today of not being a fund because we get to look at the deals, each deal on its own merits. And the investors actually like it better because it's not a blind pool. It also, given the structure today, allows us to be insanely entrepreneurial, which I love because it allows us to do the kinds of deals we want to do with the people we want to do them with and create that perfect alignment and just be creative about how we want to go about our business, which is really unique. It also affords us the opportunity, like with the company, our largest portfolio company called Barbecue Guys, which is a leading direct to consumer marketplace for home grilling and outdoor living products. If we were a fund, we probably would have had to sell Barbecue Guys. And Barbecue Guys, we bought pre-pandemic, and the company blew up. It was a $1 billion valuation in less than a year. It was crazy, as you might expect. We almost went public through a SPAC process. Thankfully, we dodged the SPAC breakdown, we dodged the market's challenges, and we kept the company private. And for that company, I brought all the Mannings in as investors, which was a great, great platform company to develop. That said, the company has now advanced and come back post pandemic. It's come back. The grilling cycle has turned. So it's a great thing that we held on to. We'll have a better return once we finally sell it. But that's a good example of we would not have had that flexibility if we were a fund. The other thing to make important to know, like I've used the word EBITDA, we're buying companies with EBITDA, typically 10 million or more EBITDA, not early stage, not pre-revenue, not venture. And so I describe what we're doing as private equity with our venture mentality. So we have the tried and true companies with a level of EBITDA, but we bring the innovation and creativity like a lot of other venture firms or venture companies do.
Got it. So your choice to sort of not go out and raise a fund, I think, and I'm going to make a couple of assumptive comments here, and you can correct me if I'm off base. But one, it relieves the pressure to deploy the capital, which is why the LP limited partners would invest in a fund, right? So you don't have that monthly, that quarterly, that annual requirement. Okay, you're sitting on $800 million dollars and you've only spent 50. What are you doing, right? We invested in your fund so you could deploy the capital and get us PE and or venture or greater returns. So is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's a fair assumption. Yeah. I think the returns could be similar, but I think the biggest part is when you're investing in one of our SPVs, that's how we do the deals, SPVs, you know exactly what the deal is all about. It's not being part of a general fund, which is typically these funds are blind pools. You go out, raise capital, and you find the deals.
Right. Tell us what SPV stands for.
Special purpose vehicle. So that's a finance term. When you do an independent deal, you set up a SPV, special purpose vehicle, to pull the capital together and pull the platform for a particular investment around a single company
So it's on a per deal basis.
per deal basis. So we
Got it.
have 7 SPVs in our portfolio today.
Understood. No, that I love that. That makes perfect sense. So
The other thing about being an independent sponsor, which is what we're called, is when you go out and raise capital for the deals, people don't really understand that, but there's a unique value. As I like to say, we curate the LPs of the deals. So you find limited partner investors who are very strategically valuable to the companies that you buy. So I mentioned a lot of the athletes. So the athletes in the company with Carmelo Anthony and others invested in, they were all very strategically valuable to a youth sports uniform company we bought. They've helped us open doors. They've helped drive business value. So that's a really important distinction and another unique value, especially to the sellers of those companies. I'll also add that the key sweet spot for us are family founder entrepreneurs who built a great company, want to take some chips off the table, and I don't mind saying they want to take some chips off the table with some good owners,
right.
owners that care about their employees, that care about share the gains, care about corporate culture, and not only will talk about, but will invest in that and take a good ride. And a lot of them, sadly, you and I both know, sadly, have not had that experience. They sell a company, their lives get turned upside down, employees get fired. It becomes a miserable experience. So we've really turned the model in a different direction.
Got it. No, that model's great. I love to hear that. So let's look out on the, I will call it medium to longer term horizon. So here's what I'm going to set up for you. World Cup, we're in the midst of. US, as we record this, just finished group play. They didn't, I'm not going to say they didn't show up last night, but they made nine different, nine adjustments to their lineup because there was no upside to them other than
Right.
going 3-0 in group play. And Turkey was 0-2 and is on a plane as we speak. And if they had gone home 0-3, who knows how many of
Right.
those players would have made it home,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Welcome to World Cup. Yeah,
Welcome to
exactly.
World Cup. So here you go. World Cup as we speak. Super Bowl happens every year, happens to be in LA next February at SoFi
Yeah.
Stadium. Got LA 28 coming in just a little over 2 years' time. You have the Women's World Cup of soccer coming down the pike in 2031. You have the World Cup of rugby coming to the US for the first time in its history in I want to say the next 5-ish years. And then you've got Salt Lake back in the Olympic game in 2034. So that's an 8-year horizon. That's a very reasonable horizon for private equity, for limited partners, for investment platforms. So let's sort of get speculative here and look out over the next 8 years, and you share with us where you think we are today, where and how you think AI may or may not impact the brick and mortar space for sure, and because to your earlier point, nobody's going to not go to live events, especially when they're compelling and global in nature. So I'll stop there and let you chime in, because the ground in my mind is very fertile over the next 8 years.
Yeah. So I am a advisor to Mark Lasry in the Avenue Sports Fund. It's $1 billion sports fund, and bridging what they're doing with what BVG is doing. So I get to see the full landscape of everything going on. And Mark said very astutely, because very smart guy, said this is the first inning of sports investing. He's right. It's the first. It's the first inning. Maybe now in the second inning. Very, very early days, and that's exciting for people who are in it, and we're very much in it and around it. So all that said, I will say commentary on the World Cup. One of the most fun things for me, I went to the opening game at SoFi, the first game when USA won, which was great. But honestly, taking yourself out of that and just watching the excitement of these international people coming into this country, it's been so much fun. It's kept me up at night watching like the Norwegians at City Field and like,
It's
you
either
know,
the Norwegians or it's the Scots. Pick one, right?
The Scots too. I talked to somebody today, just happened to be from Norway. I was like, dude, I didn't know that Norwegians were so much fun. Like they have been the entertainment for me for the World Cup. Forget the
Totally.
USA playing in the games. Like, so all that said, that's like experiential live entertainment. It's very real. It's the programming around that. There's all these phenomena. I was like, so our focus has really been around the ecosystem of sports, emerging sports to some extent, but really more the ecosystem, the picks and shovels side. I mentioned real estate as an area of interest, but other opportunities around that, because that's only going to continue to grow. Being in the youth sports business is great because while there's value today, all the things that you reference are just going to continue to grow the enthusiasm around youth sports. That said, the associations you mentioned, the World Cup and the Olympics and the rugby, it's like all the professional leagues, there are new emerging leagues happening, and they need guys like us around the table to help them grow capital and operational support. I come back to that. So exciting times, like in terms of where the most direct opportunities, I would come back to live events, the production of events and things like that is a great space. And we're looking at a couple of deals in that space. Hopefully we'll get to closure on one of them. So that's an exciting area, but you really just have to bring a level of creativity, because you and I have been in this industry for a long time. It's kind of like Back to the Future, right? Everybody talked about the fan experience and data, and you got to know your fans. Well, we've heard that, Carl, for 30 years, right? I think now AI is really forcing those owners, the people who make those decisions, to really look into some of those new innovations. And there may be more venture than private equity, because I would love to find some opportunities there in private equity. But so that's another area to pay attention. Another area, which is in the sports lifestyle space, if you will, is wellness and longevity. Huge space, obviously, where you live, where I live in Miami, huge space. And everything and all the derivatives around that. So I kind of you put that all in the same universe of opportunities and where we can lean in and bring the value that we do to the table.
Yeah, and in the last couple of bits, whether it's wellness or you know data mining, we all know about data mining. There's so many ways to do it, and there's so much data out there. I mean, they're measuring data in the quintillions right now. It's not about data collection or data aggregation. It's about identifying the relevant data and surfacing it in a way that, just say you put 10 metrics on a dashboard that are all data driven, you need to understand what each of those 10 metrics means to your business. And
Right.
then, use a simple stoplight analogy. It's either red, it's yellow, or it's green. Well, you want a
Right.
dashboard that's all green, right?
Right.
Very few 10 unit dashboards are all green, which is opportunity to optimize and become more efficient and learn more about your customer, or learn more about the experience that's happening in a venue or on a field or wherever. Same can be said about entertainment. I mean, you just take a look at Live Nation and what they're doing right now on the real estate development side. I think, Drew, they may have 8 or 9 projects in the works right
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
where they're building this mid-cap size building on, with our old pal Steve Koonin in Centennial Yards, right in,
Right. Right.
downtown Atlanta.
Right. Yeah. No, it's exciting times. Yes. And then one other, so we actually, one of our co-invests was the company called GLD, and they're the leading men's jewelry company, which is effectively the bling company. So it's like, who would have thought that, right? There's a whole fashion side. And again, young kids and adults, like that's a category that no one's really paid attention to. We pay attention to because the company's doing exceptionally well, great EBITDA, and great opportunity again for us to bring our value add to the table with athletes and the leagues, associations, et cetera.
Got it. Well, listen, you and I could go on for another hour here because there's so much to talk about and so much content. I love what you're doing, Drew. And, when we get off the camera here, we'll have a chat because there are some, I think, really interesting alignments possibly and potentially. So, with that said, in the few minutes we have left, I want to ask you a few key questions. I ask everybody a version of these questions all the time. So, we talked about who the best boss or leader, and you ticked off three of those, what I will call very serious mentors, right? They were hugely helpful to you. Moreover, as we go through our career, however many stops we make, and we've both made a lot of stops, we make mistakes along the way. And we learn the most from the mistakes we make. I mean, if it was all success all the time, you wouldn't learn very much because you just keep doing what you're doing, right? So you get your rear end handed to you because you made a really big mistake. So the question for you, Drew, is in your career, of the many we both made, and I can tell you what mine was, what's your favorite mistake that you made, what it was, and how you recovered from it?
I can't say there's a favorite mistake, but I guess, kind of a general level, and I mentioned it at the outset. When you're a visionary, innovator, et cetera, like 10 years ahead of my time. Yeah, I should have, could have I compressed that to a level in terms of being more realistic about getting things done, particularly when you're inside a company and you have goals and objectives and KPIs that you have to meet. And sometimes your vision may expand what's required to succeed in a particular job. So that's half of the answer. The other half is, the key, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but a key learning is just being around the right people and knowing what you're really good at and lean into it. Like I could say today, it's taken me a bunch of years by leaning into what I'm exceptional at. I have great partners who support me and complete me as well. And that's a big part of it. And once you have that, that's the magic. Then you get to really do what you're really good at. And yeah, others have your back and you're going to be successful in kind of the overall collective effort.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to use a sports analogy, it doesn't make sense to have 10 quarterbacks on a football team, right?
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
complementary
Yeah.
people so that the whole, is much bigger than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
So, next two questions are fun ones. We both come out of the live entertainment, live sporting world, spent our whole careers going to stadiums, going to arenas, going to wherever. So this question is the favorite live concert that you attended where a female singer-songwriter or a female-led band was the headliner.
So I went years ago. I have to figure out how many years ago it was, but my parents actually took me to go see Carole King in Central Park. It may have been one of the first Central Park live, concerts, and I think there was 400,000 people there. Something as I think about it, it's actually insane that my parents went and they took me there. But it was great. Carole King is a legend. She checks all your boxes of your question there. It was really amazing, and I'm still a big fan of hers. She's just an outstanding performer.
Well, she's not only an outstanding performer, but her talent in songwriting
Yeah,
preceded her, you know,
correct, correct.
performing art side of it. Because my recollection is when she did Tapestry, the sort of landmark signature out Carole King album, right? Back in the day, she was not that wild about actually going on the stage and performing,
Yeah. No, you're
right?
right. You're right. 100%. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
good for
Yeah.
you. I love that. So here's a companion question to that one. In the world of sport, this is the most extraordinary sporting event, live sporting event that you ever attended. What it was, where it was, why?
I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to have more than one, and I'll go in time order. Most recently, so I was at Game Four when the Knicks beat the Spurs. That was what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. That was That was surreal. I
Wait,
couldn't
wait a minute. The
believe.
29-point come from behind her.
Yes.
Holy cow.
That was a great experience. And somebody asked me the same question. Drew, is that the best sporting event you ever? Well, in fairness, it was pretty close, but the other one I have is insane bias because I worked for the Mets, as you know, in the '86 Mets when they came back in Game 6 against the Red Sox, 2 outs, nobody on. They came back and won the game, and literally Shea Stadium shook. That was pretty extraordinary as well in different ways. And because I worked for the team, I had a little bit different connection, even though I used to work for Madison Square Garden. But so those were two good ones. The other one, third one, I'm cheating now big time. Like watching Eli Manning win the Super Bowl with my favorite team, the Giants, and now him being a partner. That was pretty exciting too.
That's pretty
Those are all
cool.
pretty good ones. Yeah.
And, just for the audience sake here, if y'all haven't figured it out yet, Drew Scheinman's in a New York state of mind. All
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly.
All right.
100%. Yeah.
All right. I love that. The last question.
Carl, can I comment on that for 1 second? Sorry, but
Yeah,
like
please.
one of the coolest things, like, because I actually went to the Knicks parade, and you might say, like, why would you go to parade? Well, my nephew had a health issue. He's 38 years old, had a health issue, and he lives in Denver. He came back. He's doing great, thank God. So, but he's never had one of his teams. He's a Jets fan, he's a Mets fan, and he's a Knicks fan. He never had one of his teams win a championship that he was alive for. So the fact that the Knicks won when he just survived a very serious medical issue was transformational. So my nephew flew in from Denver to New York, and my brother flew in from Sarasota to New York. And somehow my nephew months ago got tickets for Game 6, if there was a Game 6. Well, we all know there was no Game 6, so the parade was his Game 6. So I said, you know what? I got to go join them at the parade. So I went to the parade with them, and it was exhausting. I don't mind saying because you got to get there at 5:30 in the morning and all that.
Right.
But the joy and pleasure of being around the New York experience was extraordinary, and that became has been like in the last few weeks like my favorite word, joy. When you see the joy, like we talked about World Cup, and it transcends sports. That's why we love
It does.
sports, right?
It does.
Just like that experience, it's just transformational, and what how much it meant to my nephew and to millions of others, and still going on, is just awesome that we actually get to work in this industry and see that and extract great pleasure from that was really cool.
That is cool. Did you by chance get on one of the 15 double-decker buses that was
I did not, but a chairman of our sports group, Joe Cohn, who I think you know, Joe was on the double decker sports bus. I'm not a current employee. I was a former employee, but I
got
did
it.
not make
Got
it
it.
to the bus. Yeah.
So I'll make the point. One of our agency clients, Vector Media, New
Oh
York
yeah, yeah,
City
yeah, yeah,
based,
yeah.
was the provider and the wrapper, quote unquote, of all 15 of those double decker
Oh,
buses.
very cool. Very good. But yeah, it's so funny you say that because I was in New York 3 days ago, and I saw one of them just driving around New York as like a regular bus.
That's right.
So I guess maybe that's so funny. I saw that said the MSG staff or something. They're
Right.
still wrapped. I was
Yep.
like, that's very funny.
No,
Very
it's a
cool.
very cool thing. So we were just about to ask you what your favorite word was, and is it joy, or do you have another one?
It's connected to joy. It's kindness, and so I'm on the board of the largest global philanthropy promoting kindness called kindness.org, and I've been involved with that group for the last 2 years, and it's been a blast when you see on your calendar a meeting to talk about kindness, and not just talk about it, but elevate it, embrace it, enhance it. And the executive director is a rock star, and there's some really cool things going on in the kindness world. Like last year at World Kindness Week, we rang the closing bell at NASDAQ, which I teed up because a friend of mine works for NASDAQ. And like, so doing really some cool things. You think about the connectivity you have and I have, and being able just to bring that to a charity, especially one that promotes kindness, is very near and dear to me. I'm very passionate about that. So
I
that's
love
my
that.
word.
I love that. That's a great word. My oldest daughter at the dinner table with her two kids, ages 9 and 6, the kids during school do whatever they do. And at the dinner table, the question that is asked every single night is, what kindness did you do today?
Oh, I love that. That's
Right?
awesome. Ah, that's
Right?
amazing. That's
So
great. Yeah, that's great.
That's dinner time combination.
That
Yeah,
that
6-year-old comes up with pretty much the same answer all the time,
yeah,
but
of course.
it's all right.
Good. You raised a good kid. I could
No,
tell.
she's
Well, that's
awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Listen,
that's
Drew,
great.
this has been spectacular. I wish we had much more time because there's lots more to talk about. But I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience, and giving us a peek under the tent of the Brand Velocity Group and where you see it headed over the next few years. Can't thank you enough for being a guest today on the Best Boss Ever.
It was great to be here. Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.